The content in this magazine could contain references of topics and difficult subject matter that may be triggering. Please honor yourself, inner knowing, and proceed with whatever help or guidance you feel is intuitively aligned. Welcome to Sovereign Magazine Podcast. I'm Nicole George, CEO and founder of Sovereign. I'm so happy you are here. We are the magazine podcast and community guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves. From heart-led conversations to magical meditations, our inspiring guests will show you how they can help you step into your sovereign self. Are you ready to listen to your inner voice and step into your power? Then keep listening to hear all of the intuitive messages meant for you today. Hello! Today I have the privilege of connecting with Yolanda Williams, one of our amazing contributors. Yolanda is a teacher of energetic alchemy, an intuitive mentor, and the host of Reiki Radio podcast. As a certified wellness counselor, she helps clients achieve deeper self-awareness and transformation. She also has studied and trained internationally with recognized Reiki teachers and healers of various modalities. And through her Reiki Radio podcast and courses, she shares a variety of tools for spiritual growth, intuitive development, and self-awakening. Welcome, Yolanda.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Nicole.
I'm so excited to be here with you today because we are going to be diving deep into trusting your inner values, which is our July full moon theme. And we're going to be talking about some really yummy subjects today. In your article, Clarifying Your Path, you beautifully invite our readers into the essence of spiritual awakening as a journey back to one's self-trust, truth, and purpose. You also talk about healing often rises through the ashes of discomfort, of change, and how we can tap into the cyclical nature of our world around us, which you believe mirrors our soul and is an invitation for some inner transformation. So for those who haven't had a chance to read this really magical article, why don't you recap your journey and some of the things you talk about?
Yeah, so pretty much what happened when I started this path of self-healing. Really, it was to help me learn how to manage stress and anxiety because at that time, I was trying to decide which direction to go in my life as it related to work and career. And so I was very anxious, and it was recommended to me to learn how to meditate and go to a Reiki session. So anyway, at that time, I kind of thought this work was only going to make me feel good. And it did at first. I had the experience of feeling more calm and being excited about perceiving energy in new ways. It was exciting, but no one told me about the back end of what was going to erupt and what was repressed was going to start to come to the surface. And so I had a very interesting experience of what people call the dark night of the soul. I now call it the illumination of the soul because it revealed a lot to me about me. And the truth is, at the time, I was really upset about it because I thought, I'm meditating, I'm doing energy work, I'm doing all the right things. Why do I feel like my life is falling apart? And fortunately, there was a part of me that also realized this must be part of the healing. So I went through this cycle experimenting really with myself of what happens when our wounds and when our shadow, when these things come to the surface, if we try our best not to resist, then what is really the process and what is happening. So that's how this started, and it made me really want to help other people who may be going through the same thing. So back then, there weren't any podcast about Reiki, and there weren't many people talking about the shadow side of things, which is what inspired me to want to work with people through the challenging part of the healing process because I didn't want anyone to think they were doing it wrong. And I started studying all kinds of modalities to understand just our human nature, what we are, a blend of heaven and earth, a blend of earth and cosmic, a blend of, being both physical and energetic. And so, in a lot of what I studied, there's also on the alchemy side, looking at the elements of our being so that we can learn to work with every aspect of who and what we are. So, elementally speaking, we are of water, fire, air, earth, and ether. And each of the elements corresponds to some function of our human design. So, like air is related to the function of our mind, fire is our will, drive, determination, and so on. So, in that, you can start looking out at Mother Nature and seeing how nature responds to the changing of the seasons. And really, it's this beautiful metaphor of these shifts and changes that we go through as we are growing and evolving. We have parts of our healing, just our evolution as a human being, where we're going to shed. Some things are going to fall away. We have cycles where we're going to grow and feel very energized and feel very much alive. And it goes. But the more we start to accept and understand these rhythms and our relationship to it all, then we don't fight against what's natural. And then our healing can be something that we are in relationship with and supporting rather than kicking and screaming and trying to avoid it.
Oh my. Well, I want you to finish relating all of them because I was like, no, don't stop it too.
Oh,
I want to hear more because I've never thought of it like that.
yeah.
And so I'm sure there's more people on the other end listening going, can you tell me more? So let's finish the list.
Yes. Yes. And I'll even layer it with the four directions because a lot of people as well may work with the four directions, or you may hear about people calling in the four directions. And there's even a layer of archangels with that. So, anyway, so the direction of the east is related to the element of air, which again is related to our mind. For anyone interested, that would be Archangel Raphael. But the air of the mind, I mean, think about the movement of air. Air doesn't attach to anything. It can, it's very, you can't grab it. The nature of air, the way that it moves, is how we train ourselves to allow the mind to move when we're practicing meditation. So our minds are not meant to attach and cling. That's what causes us stress, worry, and tension. But when we're able to observe things and allow ourselves to just be observers of the movement, then it also helps the body to process thought without being hurt by our attachment, our fears, and our worries around. So we can learn a lot about the nature of mind by studying the movement and the nature of air. Then we have the element of fire, which is associated with the south and Archangel Michael. But the nature of fire is associated with our own drive, our will, our drive, our determination. And it really comes down to having the study of yourself of what motivates you. What is it that makes you want to get things done? Or what is it that makes you feel like you're putting your fire out? And then you think about the relationship between the elements, like fire needs air to breathe. So mind and your nature of mind is what will feed your motivation and how you get things done. So you start to be, again, this different kind of relationship of what is the nature of my thoughts? What are the nature of my thoughts? What do I feel like today? How is this pouring into how my body is responding or what it is I'm feeling within my being? So, speaking of feeling, the element of water is associated with our emotion, also with intuition. It's associated with the direction of the west in Archangel Gabriel. But water, again, if we think of the nature of water, it's very fluid and it can take the shape and form of everything it comes into contact with. So, in this regard, think of how a lot of people are very sensitive to energy or empaths. And whatever they come into contact with, energetically speaking, they will feel it. And if they don't recognize how to distinguish their own energy from someone else's, they'll often take it on and embody it as if it's their own. So the same is true of water. It can kind of just, it's like a shapeshifter in a lot of ways. So understanding the flow, the nature of water, how it can freeze, how it can, be flowy, all of the different iterations. Again, we can look at that kind of metaphorically and think, what is the nature of my emotion? And how do I manage that? How do I understand it? Where do I get stuck? Where do I get emotionally unable to allow my emotions to move? Do I have a story where I believe I'm not supposed to cry or emote? And if I do that, how does it affect my body, right? How do I feel? And then again, you start looking at, well, how I feel, what thought is associated with that, and these thoughts and these feelings, I'm feeling it in the pit of my stomach, so my body is not happy about this, right? So you see the interconnectedness of the elements, but again, look at Earth. So we look at Mother Earth. Earth itself is the container for all of the elements. And even as it comes to ourselves, our body, our physicality is earth, which is the container for all of our elements. It's the container for the function of the ones I said previously. But really, you think of nature, how earth holds the rains that come down, it catches the rays of the sun. It is, in relationship to the movement of air, and in a lot of ways that'll like germinate and populate different seeds to support more growth, right? So again, we can see ourselves, our function mirrored in earth, and we can learn a lot about those sacred moments of bigger change in our life that we recognize as the seasons. So I would say for anyone, look at, spring. What are you like when you're at the crux of something new, a new beginning? Do you have the audacity to, go out on a limb, to take risks? Are you someone that isn't just a catalyst, but you like being in the thick of like summer, things are in full bloom? Are you someone that, how do you work with the energy of socializing and being a part of groups and these kinds of things? If you think about you in relationship to fall, how challenging is it for you to let things go? Or do you like that process of regeneration, letting things go so you can make room for things that are new? What do you need to do to balance that for yourself? And then winter, we have the beautiful death cycle of absolute emptiness. And in this season, I like to think of where you really move into a state of non attachment, maybe do a day of silence, do something where you like hermit a little bit and just spend some time by yourself. What is it like to just be with you with no distraction? We don't do that a lot nowadays. So, anyway, Nicole, I hope that answers the
Yes.
question for you, but
Yes. Oh, I love
yeah,
it. I love it.
yeah,
As somebody who's always looking to learn new ways of doing things and
yeah,
understanding and connecting it all, that just was so beautifully put for me and simple.
yes.
I have ADHD, so I like kind of bite-sized pieces of information because then I can take it in. It's more tangible for me when it's like that. So I appreciated the weaving of each of those elements and the seasons together. So I think the question that came to mind for me that perhaps one might be thinking themselves is, we already have this wisdom within us. So how can we be guided to clarify our own path or use these elements or seasons to help guide us towards dealing with the discomfort or of change or pain? Because we're talking about trusting our inner values. So if we already have these inner values or inner wisdom, and maybe perhaps they've been overshadowed by society, by family, by whomever, how can we tap into them and start to grow personally?
Interestingly, over the years, I've found one of the most challenging things about this work is not the practices, it's not the techniques, it's none of that. It's simply being able to observe ourselves honestly. So, if you can get over the hurdle of, again, being very self reflective, acknowledging what do I tend to think about a lot? What is it that I tend to talk about a lot? And how do I talk about myself? And how do I talk about my life, right? You start to notice what your own personal programming is without avoiding it. But the key to that helps people to understand themselves, because you have to see and know yourself first to even get to the wisdom that you're holding in there. And a big part of that, like, I teach Reiki, and in Reiki, there's a lot of focus on being compassionate, but it starts with being compassionate with yourself. So we have had a lot of time, the majority of us, of judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, thinking we could do this, that, and the third better, regretting our past, regretting all these things. We have a lot of weight that we put on ourselves. So one of the keys to this work is first being willing to be vulnerable enough to be honest, but also being soft enough to recognize that you deserve forgiveness. You deserve compassion. You deserve that tenderness of, it's okay what you did in your 20s, that, you did the best you could from what you understood then. And can you look at the wisdom of, what is it that I was going through then that I can see differently now, right? So there's a lot of self acknowledgement that has to happen up front, just so that we can crack open enough to see those parts of ourselves, the best parts of ourselves, that we've been conditioned in a lot of ways to deny. And we have a lot of thoughts around, how dare I think of myself as good enough? How dare I think of myself as capable enough, right? We have all of these weird ways of determining what is good enough for us, whether we're comparing ourselves to other people or we're taking on the projections and stories that other people have said about us, right? So there's a lot that goes on first, Nicole, that is just being able to see, again, what are the nature of my elements? What are my stories? How are these ideas and thought forms and stories impacting the way that I see myself, the way that I know myself, and the decisions I'm making in my life? And then where can I have compassion, forgiving myself, being more understanding, and really seeing that through my history, through my story, there's a lot of resilience. There's a lot of strength. There's a lot of determination, right? You got where you are right now somehow. And everybody's life wasn't a cakewalk, right? I'm sure we can all look back and see where we've overcome a lot. So start acknowledging more of what you're capable of, your strength, the beauty of your design. And then that can open you up to the curiosity of, what is it about me that I haven't explored enough yet that really is the best part of who I am? So we start there.
Are you ready to be part of the movement of guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves? Are you a woman who trusts her inner voice and is stepping into her power? Then subscribe to Sovereign Magazine, podcast, and community, where you can become part of our global community, because your journey to empowerment starts here. So, for anyone who is asking themselves this question right now of like, how do I begin this process? How do I begin to explore, maybe the lost parts of myself or the uncertain parts of myself? We're going to move into our special segment called Steps to Your Sovereign Self. And Yolanda is going to take you on a harmonizing guided visualization between the earth and the cosmos. And really, it's kind of a reflection between the masculine and the feminine, which is a lot of
Yes.
the battles that we have within ourselves. And
Yes.
so, if you need to prepare yourself, get yourself in a comfortable space, go ahead and do that. Light a candle if you need to, obviously safely. But she's going to take you on a magical journey here and just show you what she does with her clients. That's part of this segment is, we could sit here and talk forever about this, but let's show you what it means to begin to kind of find yourself in a new way.
Yeah. So, one of the first things I always tell people is to find your seat. And essentially what you're going to do is make sure that the way that you're sitting, your body is open and receptive. Your body is this device that allows life force to move through it. So you want to make sure your tailbone isn't tucked. And if it's safe for you to do so, of course, close your eyes so you can start to just tune in and observe you. Now, one of the things you're going to do at the very beginning is give yourself permission to not try. Release any effort. You're just literally observing yourself, your beautiful function. And you're going to inhale in through the nose, bringing in more life force, more air, and very slowly start to exhale through the nose and feel your shoulders fall. Slowly allowing any tension to melt, releasing from the back. And then just relax your breath for a moment and simply observe, witnessing yourself in this moment. Noticing how you're being held by the seat beneath you. You're going to allow the mind to gently flow down through the body. Again, nothing to force. You just allow. So you inhale life, and as you exhale, you watch the mind go down the center of the body until it lands just beneath the navel in this beautiful space that many call sacral, some call the hara, some call the seat of your soul. But you just observe, just let the mind relax. With every exhale, you soften and surrender deeper into the body, giving yourself permission to notice what it feels like to be present just with you in this moment. You start to recognize how good it feels to not have to think, worry, try. As you breathe, you acknowledge what it feels like to just be in this state of peace. And very easily, as you inhale, you start to feel life begin to rise from the navel up through the body, moving up towards the top of the head. And as you breathe and you lift, you allow yourself to feel a beautiful, gentle elongation of your spine, like the top of the head is lifting up towards the ceiling. The body starts to open and awaken. You feel your heart center, the very center of your chest, begin to open and expand. And as you breathe, you observe this beautiful clarity all through the body. Now life is able to move and flow freely through your system. And you start to breathe your awareness to the top of the head, the location of your crown. And easily you feel your attention in the crown on top of your head, radiating in this beautiful golden light. And as you breathe, this crown, this light begins to expand like a beautiful golden sun. And you start to feel this expansion of your consciousness, this clarity of mind. And as you breathe, lift, and expand, you start to tune into the awareness of being one with all there is. You see, feel, and sense yourself amongst the stars. You breathe, lift, and expand, and feel yourself beyond the planets, You allow yourself to feel spacious, open, expanding into that field, the awareness of all possibility. And as you breathe, you start to feel the pulse of life, the pulse of the cosmic, recognizing that you are separate from no thing. And very gently, you bring your awareness down into the soles of your feet. And you start to become aware of the pulse of Earth. This beautiful feminine intelligence that supports and nurtures growth, that holds and contains. You notice the way that the pulse of Earth is rising up from the feet surrounding you entirely, where you feel held, you feel nourished. You start to recognize the ways that Earth nourishes you with water, with food. You feel the warmth of the sun, the coolness of the moon. You hear the chirping of birds, the air on your skin. And again, you realize you are separate from no thing. And as you breathe, you start to tune in to where you are, where you sit in this moment. You, the balance, the connection, the unifier of cosmic and earth intelligence. As you breathe, you feel that divine essence of the cosmic flowing down from above. You feel the beautiful intelligence of earth flowing up from below. And they meet in the very center of your being to dance, to harmonize, to help you unify, recognizing the beauty, the relationship between mind, body, spirit, energy, all as one. And you just take a moment to feel your own energy. Feel into the intelligence of what you are capable of. Giving yourself permission to continue to balance and harmonize the sacred feminine and masculine of your own being, just as you breathe. And in this space, you're going to just gently whisper into your being, what am I ready to know or understand that would support me in my path? And as you breathe, just allow the information to drop in. Don't try to think, no force. Just allow yourself to witness. Then you're going to just take a moment to thank yourself for this space, this time of self-acknowledgement. And whenever you're ready, you gently open your eyes and come back.
Oh my. Thank you so much for
How do you
that.
feel?
Oh my gosh, I'm so loopy. I always do all the fun things in our segments. And I
Yes.
often come back and I'm kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But the thing that resonated the most for me was that we're not alone. We are connected and we are so in tune with our inner
Yeah.
values if we just look at nature, if we look at the cosmos. We
Yes.
we have guidance and wisdom to tap into. So if you're feeling lost, of course, you're going to find Yolanda in our show notes everywhere. She's in our community, community.sovereign-magazine.com, but you can find her anywhere. Definitely listen to Reiki Radio if you need more of her magic and wisdom. She's going to be back for more, so don't worry. She'll be right here as well. But the one word that came to mind that Spirit gave me was trust, which I thought was really interesting because we're talking about trusting our inner values. So
Yes.
I think that is a beautiful reflection of the wisdom that you've given us today is to trust ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And it takes some work to do it, but it can be done. So just be gentle with yourself in the process, no matter where you are in the journey.
Yes. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you on the next one.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another soul-led entrepreneur here to help you step into your sovereign self. Subscribe to our magazine and podcast and join our global community for all the magic. Details to connect with today's guest or join the movement are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us reach our goal of guiding 5 million women to self-sovereignty.